Hello! Welcome to early summer 2013. Unfortunately, due to my former camera passing away, RIP, we seem to have skipped late spring. This is the new shed construction. Just doing the internal decorating at the moment. Yeah, I know, what kind of shed is this for an allotment? One that kept me entertained during the winter. Had to re-fix the beds here, as you've seen in the past. Things are about 4 or 5 weeks behind at the moment. You'll notice my toilet cubicle. It's not a toilet cubicle, by the way, it's a joke. It's a storage unit. As you can see, Chinese Celery, Kai Lan in Cantonese, is doing very well. I'm not going to go through all the varieties today. Just really to see how the place is shaping up. I lied with the baskets. I ended up getting carried away, having far more bedding plants than I'd anticipated. So in they went as baskets. So glad I did the extra soil preparation last year. We've now had a dry spell and the brassicas are really benefiting from a rich soil. By the way, that's Couve Tudor. That's the European ancestor of Chinese broccoli. I do like that, and the late Harry Dodson of Victorian garden fame was obsessed with that. Billions of pigeons this year. You might be able to hear them behind me in the tree. There we are. That's why there's all this green debris netting. Certainly having these plastic ends on, as always, has helped reduce wind stress and brought everything on. Some of the hardneck garlics now beginning to produce snapes. Bone dry at the moment. Unbelievable to think this place was in flood a few months ago. The rows of spring onions and bearish shallots. The cover on the onions long since gone. We don't need it now and they're beginning to push right up. New one for me this year, I think it's OS Cross cabbage. They're looking pretty big and grow to record sizes in the States and Alaska. We'll see how big they grow here. I don't usually film at this time, so the light's in a funny, well, shining over to the west, so it might impair some of our pictures. The flower house, now used for stocking the toms. The cold frame always in use. Now more or less for herbs and getting ready to plant up those autumn veg, such as autumn cauliflower, for the gaps that will invariably be produced from the garlic. The last time we saw the greenhouse was still full. Under this greenhouse, within the greenhouse, are my habs with abs, or my Capsicum chinensis. They like it warmer than anything, and these ones are now a year old, and you might remember them. I've shown these previously in the house over winter. I have 10 left, including the former record holder Trinidad Scorpion Butch Tea, and I think the current record holder Trinidad Morego. The main chillers, the Kai Lan, are well behind this year, but this recent summer heat and light has really been putting some extra growth. Spuds are finally up. Sweet Million this, I'll mention this because I thought the pot would be big enough. I expected it to be a small tumbler, but it's bigger than I anticipated the first time I've actually done this. Again, for this year I've really noticed a difference between earlies and mains with regards to how quick they come up, and there's been a real big gap with the earlies coming up slightly late and the lates coming up very late. Sorry, this greenhouse is closed. You can see more toms in the base, various types of basil, and garlic coming on. Tends to be my oriental green section underneath this cover, although it's slightly more mixed this year. Mr. Raspberries is going to have to be netted at some point. I'm using this box again for squashes, hopefully to get my Japanese pumpkins producing. I had some of those keep for 9 months, they were amazing. Always going for the gamble with the outdoor toms. It's fine now, it starts to rain, never stops, and we get blight, and you just wish you'd never done it, as I said last year, but once a sucker, always a sucker. Things are coming on pretty quick now, except these, the vines. They've literally just opened their first leaves this week. A really good set of top fruit, although some might say I need to think about pruning these pears and maybe plums. All seed packets nearly always say shove vegetables out in the best position, full sun. I can tell you, marsh plants like celery, Utah, love dark, damp, wet conditions. I've never had them bolt there. So here's a late crop of spuds, and they're really quite behind, although I'd acknowledge it's a sheltered bed. Earlies. Looking forward to that if the picture's correct on the packet. I've got some Italian spinach, I think, from America. Crinkly leaves. Various experiments with seed onion. Another bed to be netted from the dreaded birds. You see a few pumpkins hidden amongst these. Always good to have them near beds that come out midsummer so they cover it, and if you don't do anything else, at least they spare you some degree of weeding. Yep, the coldest spring in 50 years. Without heat, but I mean coal frames or greenhouses, none of this would be here. I do think I've got a thing for baskets at the moment. I'm not sure how long this will last, perhaps another couple of years, and then we'll rethink. Just go outside to the front before I show you that. Cleaning the shed, wouldn't move. Hey presto, it's a wren's nest. And while I'm sitting here doing things like seeds, he bobs around waiting for me to vamoosh in order to get back, so I don't hang around too long. Plenty of chives, the bees seem to like them. just round the corner, and hopefully the flower bed will have plenty of time to beef up and put on a decent show this year. Hope summer's alright for you. Should put one out for midsummer. See you soon. Happy gardening.